Hey guys, my name is Sarah Sloan and you are listening to the Sarah Sloan podcast. I am here with a dear friend. His name, I forget it sometimes, but it is Daniel Sheppard. And he sure be knowing how to shepherd the flock. So Daniel and I, we met just from the Austin comedy scene and just meeting each other at the open mic, seeing each other's comedy. And he's really good. He's very funny. He's very silly. So we've honestly really started a good friendship, and I wanted to have him on the podcast. So hopefully you like him just as much as I like him, but you probably won't because I'm sorry, Daniel, but you're not likable, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't have mass appeal or whatever.
The weirdos like you though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I'm here for the weirdos and the working man. I don't know. That has to be my main target audience at this point. No, not really. Okay, I'm not even going to go that far. The weirdos just bother us, but they bother you too.
They do.
They do bother you too, and it's kind of like if you're too nice, people seek comfort and salvation, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's
but I have
true.
a way of dealing with it.
Yeah, do you feel like you seek it out at all? Like you seek out the weirdos or they seek you out only?
Maybe if there's nobody around and I'm all alone and it's like, but I mean, it's not, I don't know. I don't give it that much thought actually, but it's like, yeah, there are times where it's like nobody's there and then the weirdos are there and it's like, oh, what's up guys? And then also, if you see a weirdo out in the wild, if I'm in like another state and I run into one of those weirdos, I'm probably gonna be pretty excited to see him.
You're like,
just like, yeah. It depends on which ones require which procedure,
Whoa.
I code switch a lot,
Yeah, and if you start trying to cut off my arm, I'm gonna fight you. Okay, but tell me this. You like comedy. When did you get into it? When did you start?
Literally with stand-up, I got like a for real start where I did it consistently right after the pandemic. And I had tried to do it when in 2019 when I was 19. So I'm 25, my age is the year. So 2019 I tried to start and it was difficult as a 19-year-old out here doing stuff. I still see that till this day. Even though there's lots of opportunities, I'm even told that there were things that I didn't know about back then that there's more I could have done. And then there's also learning to schedule myself and show up for these mics. Because at the time I lived like 30 minutes away and now I live like an hour away. So like I just have my routine set at this point, But developing that routine of coming out and showing up was harder than actually like doing comedy for me in the beginning. But 2019 I was out here before the scene. Joe Rogan during the pandemic announced that he was coming here. It was like a dream come true, overnight change. Nothing's been the same since he said that, I actually heard about, I think like one of his friends said it on another podcast, but still it came true. He came here. Now all of you people are here.
Whoa, man.
And yeah.
Well, no, real quick I wanted to talk about, because that was something I really wasn't
aware of.
And I loved it. You loved it?
And I loved it, yeah. And I guess not everyone feels that way that was here before, but I also kind of it facilitated my start also, so,
Yeah, explain the thing of you said you started at 19. So you're saying it's hard for comedians to start before the age of 21?
Yeah.
Explain that.
Because comedy is almost always in a bar of some kind.
Okay.
So you have to be 21 to be in a bar. And even the clubs try to, act like they're not a bar, but they're a bar. Even the biggest ones. Even Mothership is that's kind of what they are on paper.
Yeah.
And and then some places would give you X's on your hands. And I remember for concerts and things like that, we used to come downtown. That's how I learned to come downtown as a teenager. Music shows, things like that. And then they would put X's on your hands. And then I'll see younger comics do that from time to time, but they tend to have a hard time doing it. I remember I did.
Wow.
And you just have to just show up to every place. Some places will. Most bars just didn't want to risk it. So I was all over Austin getting turned down by bars just for my age. And
now you're still turned down, but it's for other reasons.
Yeah, I get turned down by women in the bar. But I'm allowed to be in the bar legally.
Yes.
For now.
For now. But we're working on that. Okay, and what made you interested in comedy in the first place?
I've always loved comedy as a genre, definitely. I've always felt funny. I've always felt like everyone in my life is funny. All my friends are funny. If that's like the reoccurring thing, and I had like, you know, I had realized that at some point where like 100% of my friends are funny. That's kind of like my qualifier.
Wow.
Where it's like, if you're a funny person, if you have a really good sense of humor, then like I kind of put, maybe to a fault, put that above other qualities. I don't know, but it's like every person I spend time with is funny on like a personal level too. But I don't know, like I was just always, even since I was like 5, I was called a comedian and stuff like that. And let me see, I guess middle school is when I learned about stand-up from like Louis, watching the show Louis.
Yeah.
And
Louis C.K., yeah.
Yeah, and I just kind of, there was that, and I had my opinions and the way I felt. Like if I ever were to do that, I would say this, or I would do it differently this way. And then I also like got fascinated by this idea of having like a superpower of saying the funniest thing. And like I used to have like this fantasy, and then I realized like, wait, that's possible. Because I was like, you'd have to, I was trying to say like too much. Please remind me. You have to, if you were to just be able to stop time and give yourself enough time to think of the right thing, I always felt like that's all you needed. And for every context, that's all you would need. So then like during that, I had this epiphany. Like I was like, I don't know, just like independently, and I was like, wait, that is possible. That is possible. So I was like, I just need to work on that. So since like middle school, I've always tried to sharpen my sense of humor in like a response way. I've been obsessed with humor my whole life. I've always admired humor. Like the big role models in my life were very funny in their own way. My father was really funny. Both my parents. My step grandfather, I remember growing up, who was very impressionate on me. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I remember he was so funny, it almost made me want to cry. It was like just so effortlessly, just what I consider to be funny is like embodied in him and all that. Anyway, sorry, I get really distracted. So stand up. I didn't consider doing stand up until I was about 14, freshman in high school. We had a class called Teen Leadership, and it was a public speaking class, I think. But it was also just like empowering, and it was a really like motivational based thing. The teacher was it was almost like a fake class, no disrespect, but it was almost like they made up a concept and like put somebody in there, and like there was no need for qualifications. It was just like, I don't know, it was a weird class. And our class did so well, they kept it. So we had a teacher, it was only supposed to last one semester. And then they let us do it for the whole year just because like everybody loved it so much.
Wow.
But it was every morning we'd take turns public speaking, and I would have like new material every day. And like I just didn't even think about it. It would just like crush. But to my classmates, so like I know what works and what doesn't. And then stuff like that would happen in like theater class. But sometimes I'd like really bomb sometimes in theater. Just like everybody's like, where's Daniel's story this morning? And then it's like I didn't have anything sufficient. And then it's like, damn, dude, whoa. Guess he's not always funny, huh? You know, just like stuff like that. No, but teen leadership was like when people were like, you should be a stand-up comedian. That's like the whole class was kind of telling me that. And that's when I had the idea to do it. And I first actually did it at 16. And I did it at some wooden bar here downtown. I can't even remember what it was or where it was. Like I'll know if I'm like standing in it, I'm sure, but I still haven't found which bar that was. I think it was maybe West. And my friend and I both did really well our first time.
Oh, cool.
And he didn't want to stick with it. And I've had a couple of those characters that would like try to do it with me, and then like they were not necessarily bad or anything, but they just like the commitment is a lot. Mm-hmm. And that's like when random people ask me, I want to be a comedian too, or I think I'm capable of it. First of all, I think everyone's capable of it if you give it the time and you trust the process. Like you'll come up with something. Even if you have the desire to be a comedian, that's like all it really takes. It's just, are you willing to devote lots of time into developing that, to figuring out what's funny, pushing yourself, trying new things. So you have to like really want that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah. So what I was going to say to you was that I've always noticed in your comedy that you know how to cater to your audience.
That's really important.
Yeah, so that's interesting because you did that in your class like you were just talking about. You knew what they were going to like.
Hyper aware of the individuals in the room, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've heard people say that that's a slight flaw, or it can be a flaw. And I'd like to think I have the wherewithal to know the difference of when and that's. And what I mean by that is you're supposed to do comedy to the best of your ability to strangers or people who are like paying to see a show. That's the priority, our people, our customers, and not our fellow comedians who we're with all the time.
Wow.
And that's technically what your mindset should be.
Yeah.
Like on paper, that's what it should be. So you're like, if you're catering to the back of the room, they say, that's not good. But I try to do both as best I can because I can't help but not do both. And a lot of times it's just me and the other comedians, a majority of the time probably.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And so I just felt like I adapted to that eventually. And because in 2019, I repeated my set over and over again. Like it was like nothing like I do it like now. And I just had to reapproach it when I came back to it.
Wow.
And I tried a bunch of things out. Now I do what I do now, basically. But I used to just verbatim every time, maybe slight changes, especially if I wanted to expand. But every time I perform, I try to get a good gauge of the room. I try to look at everybody. I try to see what I'm dealing with, and I will change everything in a moment's notice based on what's there. So if it's a bunch of old people, if it's any specific demographic of any kind, I take that into consideration. I'm not gonna exactly change who I am or whatever.
No, yeah.
But I'll try to remain authentic.
Yeah.
But just try to. I think the people matter. I'm a humanitarian. Like I actually care about what the people feel like and what they experience and stuff too.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to consider, And then they also, they say not to try to please everybody, but in a performer sense, you want to have as much mass appeal as possible as a performer, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No. And then, I think like you're saying that it translates to how you deal with people just in general too. I always notice the way like we said, bringing it back, you talk to the weirdos. I see you talk to every different type of person, and you'll cater to them, not in a people pleasing way.
I will literally code switch, as they like to say,
and
it's deeper than that, I guess. But I will, I don't know.
But no, it's a good trait, and I think it'll serve you very well. And so then, so you've been doing comedy for a bit now, and then it is crazy that you drive an hour. Because that means you're driving an hour back.
Yeah.
That's nuts, man.
On average, so 2 hours a day I lose.
Ugh.
And I try not to think about it too much.
I'm going to make you think about it.
I'm going to adjust, and there's things you can do too, like there's little car games. You can listen to your set and work on stuff as best you can, I guess, but I don't do that really. I record every set. I don't always listen to it. Another comic told me they did the same thing, where it's like we just do it so much so we don't feel the need to have to do that as often. I will binge once in a while.
Yeah.
Also, I will say I don't know if you would consider me one. I've been called an alt comic. And the thing is I don't exactly know what that means, but people are like, oh yeah, you're definitely an alt comic. The thing is I go for mass appeal also, but that may just be that I have a unique approach or something like that. I don't know if you'd consider yourself an alternative comic, or if you have an idea of what that means or whatever. But
what do they mean? Anything that's not Jerry Seinfeld?
Patton Oswalt is supposed to be the #1 alt comic. That's the archetype, I guess. I don't know. Obscure. I don't know.
I think comedy just in general, it's changing.
Everybody's pretty original. If they're I don't know. I guess you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
If you have to be somewhat original to have success, I guess.
Well, no, yeah, you have a setup and then you do a punchline. I don't know. I don't. But yeah, for sure, you have a different thing that you bring to the table. I never really understand all that. For sure, I think the thing whenever I'm watching comedy, I just don't want I hate whenever it's just so obvious someone is just totally ripping off somebody else's style and they're having no original thought and all that. I think that's pretty gross.
And I tried so hard to not do stuff like that, but then like deep down, like I have these like hardcore influence, and one of them's Louis C.K. Like,
and I can tell one of them is me because you've been copying me.
I've had Your
like
whole approach to structure is mine now.
Yeah, and like you were watching me on stage, and you're just like, "That's good, that's good." Yeah, and then you do the same exact joke, and I'm sick of it, and that's why I wanted to have.
I switched the verbiage and the nouns up a little.
Yeah, and the wig you wear is a little different than my hair, so I gotta give you that.
Becoming Sarah, it just depends,
Yeah.
It depends on the person I want to emulate,
Well, no, and you've been dressing like me too. Like
that was weird.
Yeah, like black shirt. Okay, kind of. Well,
I have those pants. I have those pants. I really could have nailed it.
Yeah, you really could. And then grayish shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for real. And then the glasses, and then the beard. You've been copying my beard for a while. Mm-hmm. So stop, man. Like I'm just gonna like call you out and like in front of the whole world.
We're secretly half Hispanic, both of us.
Yeah, that's true.
That's whatever.
Yeah, no, okay, so yeah. Whenever we first met, it was so funny because it was like we were barking for the Absolute Show, which if a person doesn't know what barking is, it's just like advertising for a comedy show. And so you're usually standing out there with flyers, passing them out, talking to people. And so then Daniel and I, we didn't know each other, and then we barked together. And then
I think we first met.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but we were spending like a few hours together, and I was just like, okay, he's very friendly. It seemed like you were very like interested. I'm not talking romantic, so throw that out. Like very interested in knowing me. Very interested in.
I thought I knew you already, and you said the same to me. I thought you were somebody I literally thought you were somebody I went to high school with.
Yeah.
And then I was like, are you like, I think like her name was like Emily or something like that.
Yeah, and you better find her because everybody's like, oh, you remind me of someone, and then they show me her, and then she looks like Queen Latifah. Like she looks nothing like me.
Yeah. Well, it's more of a vibe, I guess. And it's like,
okay.
Yeah, I was like, well, it was somebody I didn't obviously know that well, I guess, but.
Okay.
So then, I was like, I think that was the first thing I asked you was like, did you go to McNeil High School?
Okay.
I'm not sure though.
Yeah. No, and
I'm not sure if you're lying or if you really are her or like, I don't know.
Surprise! Takes off the mask.
It's best not to worry,
But no, I liked you, and I was just like, okay, this guy's a vibe. He's cool. And then, but I still was like, he's pretty serious. I just felt like you were like, I hadn't seen you like cut up, and then you were.
What do you mean serious? Like I was taking it seriously out here?
Yeah, like everything you were doing was pretty serious. Like even we were barking together, and you were like, I don't know, I kind of think maybe we should just like separate. It's more effective and all that kind of stuff. I was like, we're having fun. Like why can't we just bark together? Like I kind of remember like thinking that. And so like,
the goal, eyes on the prize.
Yeah, no, and see that's what I mean. Like you were very serious about it. And so then. Which actually we figured out that teaming up is better in the end. It really is. It's more fun.
When we're all there at the same time.
It's so fun. Okay, so then we were at an open mic, and then it was the gamble mic where they roll a die, and then you can get anywhere from 1 to 6 minutes. And so then one of your friends got 1 minute, and you're like, and like you were just like yelling out and like teasing him for it, and I was just like, oh, he's very funny.
Justin O'Donnell, he was pathetic. It was just,
It was good, but I was just like, oh, he's very silly. I was like, I really like this. And so then I kind of got a vibe for your humor, and then I was like, I was still trying to like figure it out myself.
And I think we've slowly started seeing each other's sets one after another, right?
Yep. And that's how, like, seeing a friend perform is very helpful. That's another question I have for you. Like, okay, is it harder for you to be friends with someone that is like absolutely terrible? And it's not like I'm not even acting like we're
conversation.
I'm not even acting like we're the best. We're not the best. I'm not saying that, but like we get laughs.
Tell you what, at a certain point, you'll have to say something if it's like or if somebody's struggling that bad or something like that.
Yeah.
And then if they're struggling too bad, too much, too long, they're probably not taking this seriously, and they're probably not as prominent. Not only in the scene or in my like friendship, I guess. I don't know, but I have my friends will range in appeal and effectiveness and quality. quality is subjective and fluctuates and stuff like that too. And this goes into a deep conversation about like sometimes there's people you really like and then that aren't, you know, maybe at your level, let's just say, or like, and then you start like saying like again.
And then like, you know,
and then like you like literally like give them opportunities and stuff. And sometimes it's giving people opportunities they don't deserve is not necessarily a good thing in the long run.
Okay, yeah.
So you need to have an awareness of that, and you need to also, you know, be honest with people. But then it's also, you can't, it's comedy advice is one of the hardest things because you cannot, it's so subjective that you can't really tell people what to say. You can kind of tell people how to behave in a way or like what to expect from certain things, but telling somebody what to say is usually not okay.
Wow.
Because you say like, oh, I don't like that you talk about that or the way you talk about that. Well, that person can commit to making that work eventually. Wow. That topic or that thing. It's possible. It's always possible. So, so like, yeah, if you ever find yourself to say like, I don't know, but there have been times where I'm like, you shouldn't talk about that with certain things with certain people, but there's a way to have that conversation. I'm sure I tend to stay away from those specific things, but yeah, what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, just like friendships.
Yeah. I have a lot of great friends I've made in comedy, and this is all stuff, you know, you gotta think about when you put on shows and operate in the world out here, you know.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, I'm sure it is possible that people find themselves in the wrong crowds doing the wrong things, you know. And I like to think that I've matured enough to not struggle with that at this point.
Yeah.
I do question some of the things. Like today is a good example. I was sitting, we're outside of Mothership, respectable little group, and some guy comes up. It's like, oh, hey man, I met you one time. What's up, man? Yeah. You make me feel comfortable. Let me stand around you. And then won't leave. Talks about how he doesn't take this seriously. Talks about how he like, oh yeah, no, I've never done comedy before. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, but I'm funny. I can make my family laugh, dude. I swear. And it's like, that's what we all did. And I told him that, and I kind of convinced him, like, I'll take them seriously. But then I'm also like, this guy's like the weirdos range, but it's like at a certain point you're a weirdo if you break too many social, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then it's like this weird guy standing there, and then won't leave me and my friends alone, and then it's like, this vibe is not mixing with their vibe, and it's like, you're probably making these girls uncomfortable, dude. Like, what are you doing? And so what I'll do is I'll try to like talk to them and move them away or sacrifice myself, and like just start. You'll see me if you, I don't know, like I'll start talking to somebody and like walk off, and like this has happened a lot. This happens a lot. Like there was a weird guy in particular, weird famous like creepy guy who was like a comedy stalker. He was probably like the king of all these people we're talking about. Like,
wow.
Yeah, there was like a really, really prominent guy who was scared to do comedy but wanted to follow us all around and act like we were these celebrities. And I'd be in like a really like cool group, and then this guy comes up and then starts talking. Oh, I'm his way to get the foot in the door and hanging around these people. And I'm like, no, like, and I want to protect them from this guy almost, like. So like I'll walk away. Like this one particular time, I walked away with him, and then he started to be like, "Why are you walking away? For like, what's going on here?" And I'm like, I'd want, you know, as I'm explaining to him, some guy starts filming him and I talking, and then they get in a big fight, and then next thing you know, Mars's car got towed, so he comes and pulls me away, and then this guy got really freaked out that I like left, and he's like an old man. And then he's calling me like, you left me. And like he's left me 10 1-minute long voicemails and like voice messages. And then I didn't respond, and he blocked me and disappeared. I have not seen him since then.
Whoa.
He disappeared that night. And just weird stuff. Like, that's an extreme example. And I haven't had anybody that bad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But yeah, the weirdos are just a thing to deal with. I think everybody has to deal with them to some degree. Like, and then your average homeless person is just automatically usually hear like coming up to you begging for money or like hanging around. Like there's an understanding that like that's weird. Stop.
Yeah.
And some of these comics are closer to that than being comics.
Wow.
And then I don't know. That's not true, I guess, but or not in a majority way.
Yeah.
But like there are like homeless comedians and stuff, and some of them make it, some of them don't. I just saw like 2 that had to just be straight up homeless people at the Dice Mic just now, and then they just I don't know, just like come up super dirty and just like are just delusional about everything going on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, one time there was a guy with like a bleeding leg and like a bandana tied around it. Anyway, back to the.
Yeah, by the way, that was me, so yeah.
You had your hair different, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I like to change it up, you know. That's kind of my thing. No, yeah, I don't think people realize how many delusional people comedy attracts. And it's like, in a sense, we're all
mentally
delusional.
ill.
Yeah, like
there's a lot of mental illness.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
In the workplace,
Yeah.
at every level, and then especially around it, you know, surrounding it.
And you have to just like act normal and like just deal with it seems like.
You have to be righteous. You have to be a good person.
Yeah.
You have to navigate just big time, you know. Just kind of stick to your guns.
Yeah, and no, it's kind of, yeah, as a female, it can be a little weird too because, you know, I'm a nice person and then people take that as like flirting. And
I bet it's way harder for a female to navigate on average. Like,
no, it's frustrating.
The career is automatically a tougher career, and then they try to. That's also like understood. So they try to help females in some way and boost them, and that can help or hurt. And then that does different things. And then I've seen it all. I've really seen it all happen. And then, like we said before, getting opportunities you don't deserve can sometimes be a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I've seen girls fall victim to that. It's not being like they don't deserve that. It's like after a while they couldn't handle the workload, or they like there's all sorts of things that'll happen. And then it's like, what's the answer? The answer is take your time, develop, be ready when those opportunities come. But then, like I said, then they have to go back to ground zero, back Gen Pop weirdos, back, especially after they've made progress. Like we're talking about females specifically, and this happens to everybody, but I think females have a more concentrated, more consistent version of this that they experience. But
no, I think you're right, because there's fewer females. Yeah, they can be pushed a little bit.
They have to
faster.
jump all over the ladder, and then it's hard for chicks out here. It is.
Yeah.
And then everybody's examining each other really closely. So, you know, chicks end up sleeping around that one way or another. That somehow everyone knows about it, you know. Or
it's true.
Which, and that can be a problem for everyone. But I can only imagine what chicks have to deal with, or what females have to deal with. Excuse me, you're not a chick. I can only imagine what female comedians have to deal with. That's in general. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, no, it is weird.
Which is why they suck. You know, it is why they generally are never as good. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, at the end of the day...
I think it is harder for a female to comfortably develop than it is for a guy in this sport.
Yeah.
But props to the females.
But you have to, like, if you're on stage, you have to get the laughs. That's all there is to it. And I think, like... I think that no one can take away from it. That is the level playing field. But it's like, okay, but how did that person get on that stage? That's where then the unfairness. Why are they laughing? Yeah. Why are they laughing so hard? That's not fair.
Yeah.
They should not be laughing at that.
If she was 100 pounds heavier, do you think they would be laughing?
They would not be laughing. I'll tell you that right now. But no,
they wouldn't have cut her as much slack.
And I know that's right. Oh,
I bet that's said about every female every time. Like every time. I bet, like, you know, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, at what level, I bet all that stuff is low-key said to some degree.
Yeah.
Of just people who are envy or whatever.
Yeah. And then I think, like, it's a way to differentiate yourself. Like, being a female, like, you can stand out a little bit more. There's some advantages to that.
You're actually funny.
Whoa, man. We all know
you are really funny.
Oh, thanks. Really no, I think you're funny, too. Yeah. Yeah, no, I did actually have a conversation with someone that I felt like was not doing very well. Like to the point where I only would have said something, or I only said something.
I catch
because I felt
myself
like I had
doing
to.
that so much where
Like,
it's
I
like
had
there's
to.
an elephant in the room that's like, you know, and then I've had it happen where that elephant gets addressed accidentally when you didn't mean for it to go there. And then people bring it up in weird ways too, because it's like people will look at your Instagram and assume you're living a different life than you are, or that your life is kind of like the Facebook effect, where it's like you're posting your highlight reel of things you decide to post, and then people just think your life is something that's more exciting than it is or different, and then so people will assume I'm up to more than I am, or they're like, "How come you've never given me opportunities?" It's like, what makes you think I have opportunities to give you? Like,
and also, what an entitled thing to ask.
Yeah. Well, and then it's not always up front. It's always like, I heard that someone said that about me. Like, that happens.
Wow.
No, I'm not speaking individually. I'm saying that's a serial thing that happens, where it's like I'll hear like, oh, so-and-so complained, or so-and-so thinks this, or so-and-so, you know. Or they'll tell one of my friends thinking that friend's not going to tell me. Or maybe that's a way of subconsciously trying to tell me that. Like, I don't know. It's confusing out here, and people are mentally ill. But yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah, and it's like,
even the good ones are mentally ill. You know.
Yeah, you're mentally ill.
Yeah, you are too.
My mental. Yeah,
No, just kidding. You are not mentally ill. Actually, I would not say that you are.
Yeah, I don't feel like I am.
You're not mentally ill enough.
Whoa. No, I feel like I'm very sane in the membrane, and so yeah, it is kind of weird. But there's a lot of people.
But then you probably have a lot of stress too that comes with, you know, the more normal you are, the more kind of stressful it is, and then you're kind of driving yourself a little nuts that way, you know.
But in my friend groups, in my non-comedian friend groups, I am the weirdo, and they think I am so strange. Like, for example, at work today, we get our headshots taken, and I did this big elaborate joke of like headshots, and I'm like stumbling backwards, and I'm just like.
It's a repeat joke. I've heard you tell that before.
Yeah, and I'm doing it over and over and over again, and they're just like looking at me.
Because we were doing that the other Monday when they didn't have Kill Town. We were like, headshots, because we went to that place. But anyway,
that's funny.
I could see that in a workplace.
No, it was so weird. And then I was weird. Like, I got the headshots taken, and then I was like, hey, they already finished with them, and they're not done. It's gonna take like a week. And they're like, oh, show me. And I just showed this like old picture of me like as a tap dancer whenever I was like 9 years old, and like I'm really fat and all that, and I'm just like like, and I think that's hilarious, but they thought it was so weird.
They didn't get it. They didn't get it.
They didn't vibe with it. And then there's a lot of times where I'm like just sitting at my desk and I'm just like ah! Like I'm laughing because I saw something like on Instagram or whatever, and they think that's so weird.
Well, what's worse for me is I'll get a funny idea and just laugh out of the blue.
Yeah.
I don't know, and that really makes you look crazy. And Bill Burr talks about that. Where he gets like
worst.
Intrusive thoughts or whatever. Or they're not really intrusive thoughts. It's like I'm legitimately trying to construct a joke or something. Or it's just kind of, I've trained my brain so much to find humor that it'll happen at times where you don't want it to.
It's true. Like, we can never really turn our brains off.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of sad.
There's ways to, you know, control silent prayers, things like that. Helps you get right on top of that stuff. But you can only really step back and watch it do its thing and then like reapproach it with like a better mindset.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like a constant flow.
No, and sometimes I'll just try to turn my mind off. I think before it was like I would always try to be thinking of something, and now I've come more to a place of like, if something comes to me, I'll accept it. And things will come to me.
I think that's that makes for more quality ideas.
Yeah. Well, because there was one time I sat at my desk and I was just like trying to think of something, and I came up with something, and then I ran it by my sister. I usually run my jokes by my sister, and then she was just like, what's the point of it? Like, it's not really like sure, it was like, oh, haha, but like, it's not like that funny. I was like, you know what? It was forced because I was forcing it. Versus whenever a funny idea comes my way, and I'm like, oh, that's freaking funny.
It happens, you recognize it, all that.
Yeah, and it doesn't even mean I can end up making it a good joke, but at least
I think that's a majority of like my ideas are like ones I've collected, like funny thoughts that I capture, and sitting down to write. And that's one thing I complain about with my 2-hour drive is like I don't have like the cuts into my writing. You know, like I don't get a chance to write. That's what I like to say. But I actually don't sit at a desk and write as much as I'd like to. It doesn't happen very often. It's very effective when I do. But like, do you find yourself ever staring at a blank page trying to make something happen? That's kind of what you were saying, like you're trying to come up with a joke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't do it often, and whenever I did do it, like I don't feel like it works very well.
That would happen to me a lot with like trying to come up with like movie ideas, scripts, things like that. I remember just like trying to force something when you have nothing is just staring into the abyss.
Yeah, it's not great.
But what I do now is I'll sit down and I have like a format that I'll give myself, so which involves just like going over everything. Like, what do I have here? I'll try to make like a list of my prominent ideas and jokes, and then I'll start writing them out, and then next thing you know, I'll push myself in that direction by doing that, and then I'll start coming up with more relevant ideas and build off that. And yeah, and then when it comes to like story writing and stuff like that, like collaboration can be helpful, but with comedy, you know, collaboration is kind of strange with comedy. I don't know how much you've ever actually like written with somebody. It's you kind of like go over your own stuff and approve each other rather than like come up with stuff together when it comes to material. That's usually how you want it to be, because we don't want to be like we're sharing jokes or anything like that, unless it's like we're writing for a goal. If we're coming up with jokes for a purpose, then that line gets kind of blurred. And I don't know. What is your experience with? Have you ever done that before?
The only extent of writing with somebody has been the tag writing. Where, yeah, if you don't know what tag writing is, you go up on stage, you do your set, and then people are writing like different jokes that they could insert into your jokes already. Writing ideas with someone, like unless they were like my paid employees and I had made it so big by then, I really don't like that.
I don't even like the idea of it generally, but then there was one day where I was with a friend and then we were both just writing individually, like in the same room. And then it's nice to have another comedian to bounce ideas off of, or to like, or somebody that really knows you. And then you can kind of run stuff by. And like, I didn't even look at it as like writing though together. And then afterward they were like, oh, good writing session. And I was like, man, yeah, interesting. Like that I can kind of get behind, but we're really big on being original. You know, that's the big, everybody kind of seems to share that idea of like, it's really important to have your own jokes and ideas, and copying jokes or stealing jokes is considered to be like a crime, you know?
Yeah, then why do you do it so much?
Because I don't get caught, you know? And for now I'm getting away with it, and we'll see how far it gets me.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned your film. I did want to ask you about that. So yeah, so you do film, like you write movies.
When I was 11, I got really interested in filmmaking, and I maintained that. And then by the time I got around, like learned about it as much as I could on my own, experimented with things. By the time I got to high school, I had like a more established film class, and met friends that I am still friends with till this day, like as a freshman, and I got a tight group. That all went really well. That was always my best class, my major or whatever in high school. Ended up getting like double blocked to where it's like I got to go like every day, I'm pretty sure. I think that's what it was. Or like one day I got to go for half the day. Yeah, that was what it was.
Okay.
Every other day, half the day was my filmmaking class. And we got all so prominent, and we were trusted so much as filmmakers to the teacher that like, and most of the time we legitimately were. That meant that we didn't have to be at school half the day for us.
Wow.
And that didn't mean at all. That was not the case for everybody in our class.
Wow.
And sometimes we would abuse that, but especially when we would be working on projects though. And yeah, I had a filmmaking class, and that's probably the most, and like, you know, during my high school career, and that was where I got a lot of the sharp, you know, development out of the way, early development stages. And then we started making big projects outside of class. Another big thing that helped us reach that understanding with our teacher. It was mainly my best friend who was the director, and he would always get these big projects off the ground and collaborate with everybody and get it all in place. And he had learned a lot from his parents had like put him in like camps and stuff, and so he learned a lot of intricacies and how to approach doing that. So he was the first person I saw to like get a cameraman, get this, get that. Everybody wear their hat. Everybody go out there. And next thing you know, we're juniors in high school. And maybe I shouldn't say too much, but we're juniors in high school, and my friend met a guy at the Alamo Draft House, and the guy invested in us. And he gave us $10,000 to make a movie.
Cool.
So we made a feature film that following summer and like our senior year, a lot of our senior year. And like that did okay. It's all these, and then we've made like some short films after that. Those are all pretty much shelved, I would say, at this point. Like we put them through the ringer. Like we have one now that we just now completed, and we're starting up like putting it into festivals and things like that. But yeah, after a while we put it in festivals and then just chose to move on and work on other things. And that our quality has just really, really improved and stuff over the years doing that. But we are sitting on like a handful of projects at this point. But then if it takes off, then like we have these things we're proud of as well.
Yeah. So what part do you typically play in the production of the film?
I've probably done everything, every position as far like, grip, sound, lighting, camera, directing. With these projects, my friend directs, and then I always wanted my own projects. And I've directed many times. I know how to direct. I've worked closely with him. I feel like I'm somewhat experienced at this point with directing. But I see myself as a producer for the most part. That applies to like comedy as well. I very much wear that hat, that play that role of negotiating, scheduling people together, producing the idea, making it happen. It's different. It's a different, different sport with comedy, I guess. But filmmaking is just it doesn't happen if somebody doesn't take initiative and get everything going.
Well, because I think a lot of people, they wouldn't know the difference between a director and a producer.
Yeah, they can be the same person, but it's the director is the person that's managing the actual filming process. They're the manager who you listen to them. They're the general, the dictator, if you will.
Wow.
And when that's happening, you have to do what they say. And if you're the producer, you kind of have to give them that authority. And if something's like major, or if you're like an executive or something, if you're an executive, that kind of implies that you have a lot at stake, and that you kind of you override that. And then, but then you don't want to disrupt the process. But there's been plenty of like crossover there. Like all the big guys are somewhat tied into every title there and stuff. But yeah, no, being a director is definitely its own thing. And then being a producer is like the guy sitting in the chair in the back, just taking note of everything. And then everybody else are just the worker bees.
Yeah. Dang. But no, yeah, because you've sent me pictures of like, behind the scenes on projects and stuff, and it looks so legit. Like,
and you can tell which one's the director because there's the guy standing there scratching his chin.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, and so that's interesting that you really prefer the producing side of everything.
It's not that I prefer it, but that is the role that I play there.
Okay.
I'm okay with it. I have no problem being a producer. When I was younger, I did. I used to be like, dude, who would ever want to be a producer? But then I had to become one out of necessity, because it's like someone's got to make something happen. And then it's like there's no shame in that. It's just because you'd always hear stories about producers ruining things, or it's like the director, you got to listen to the director. That gets beat in your head. And so... and then the Japanese take it a step further, where they say you have to listen to the assistant director even more than the director, because the director a lot of times the director just is working with people a step under their assistants, and the assistants are the ones that actually give the order. So, and then the Japanese came and saw us doing that and thought that they had more authority or something weird. Something like that. But like, if they're doing what the director is saying still. But anyway, that's... I could go on all day about these little intricacies, but Yeah, sorry. Where were we with that?
No, it was interesting. No, I didn't know all that. I didn't know the Japanese got their fingers involved in the
Asians
whole
are
thing.
really good at filmmaking.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Koreans and Japanese are really good. I can speak for them.
You can speak for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. Everybody.
I can vouch for them. As a Chinese.
Yeah, no, and I thought
Yeah.
you were. Yeah, no, that's crazy. Okay, and then I was going to ask you, you also were into powerlifting?
Yeah.
You did that for a bit.
Yeah. I started lifting when I graduated high school in 2017. I like to say I didn't go to college. I went to the gym, and I found Big Tech's gym. That's where I do my mic now. And I went there for years before doing that. Started going there in 2017, and I think I had like every birthday there, other than like the past couple years. Just went every day relentlessly. Became what's known as a gym rat, where you're just there all the time. But like I was considerably like in worse shape, overweight, but still very strong. That's overweight people tend to just have like a natural strength, and but I was exceptional.
Fat strong.
I was like really good, really strong. I was like better than most fat people, I was really good at being a fat person,
Amen.
and I still am, but I'm even better at it now. But going in there, and I had a friend who was like a bodybuilder who was helping me like establish myself there. Started going with him every day, like a workout partner. I would pay him in the beginning a little bit, stopped paying him. He also moved away, and ended up getting real coaching at some point, like getting recruited. Because like I took it seriously and would try my best and do research and things like that. And then one day there was a guy who I would see like every day. We ended up being close in age, but we just recognized each other every day, working really hard. And he told one of the coaches that like I'd be a good client or something.
Wow.
Apparently, I was recommended by him, and like I found that out way later. There was like some guy just from across the gym,
Just watching you.
Yeah, like it took me forever to ever get to know him.
Oh my god.
And I never really did get to know him too well, actually. But I was interested in bodybuilding when I first started, but then obviously strength was a better suit for me.
Yeah.
The thing is being out of shape as a power lifter is a stereotype. Also, like if you're eating properly and being healthy, like you'll be somewhat athletic. And I did become a lot more athletic. And that first coach, we did what's called power building. So like he tried to get the best of both worlds, but really he's just wanted me to get healthier and lose weight before really focusing on like that. And I worked with him for a while, did really well at one point to where he kind of basically gave me free training for a good bit there. And then I kind of stopped showing, that becomes rough when you fall off while someone's kind of essentially sponsoring you. It had to get into like I kept getting these weird arguments with him, and then it kind of came out that it's like kind of beating around the bush that you're not pulling your weight. And I don't know, but like that specific thing was because it was like a bodybuilding goal thing. This is so stupid. I was losing weight, right, and I'm doing what he's telling me to do. I've always struggled with check-ins, and that's ultimately what affects me with every coach. I don't like reporting at the end of the week what I've done. I don't like keeping track of that. Mainly, maybe if I kept better track, it wouldn't be as bad. But it's also like stuff happens, and then they never seem to be quite understanding enough. Like, I don't know. Coaches and checking in has always been kind of an issue. And then I've had coaches that don't do that, and I do a lot better with them. But then again, those guys are more like experience-based rather than like technical. And then there's pros and cons to both kinds. But, what was I saying? So I got to a point where it was like, okay, you're losing enough weight. Oh, you pretty much lost enough weight. You can do this competition where you can win money. And then it's like you have to go out in like a Speedo and a fake tan, and it's like a bodybuilding show and stuff. And I just did not feel ready for that, even though I lost enough weight. I was like, I don't feel aesthetic though. Like I don't want to do that, and I didn't have the heart to tell him, and I think I just kind of veered away.
Whoa.
So if he's listening to this, that's what happened. That's why I started. No, but
yeah, you're giving this podcast way too much
credit.
Okay, so you were gonna walk out in a Speedo and be all like,
and it freaked me out.
Yeah.
If the idea of it freaked me out too much at the time, at least.
No, that would freak me out.
I was like, oh shit, I don't
want to
do that. I don't want to do that. And like I would lost a lot of weight, so like I could have probably won the money and like split it with him. But then it's like I remember thinking like I am gonna have a heart. Like I don't know if I can do that when I learned about it. And I just kept it out of my head. I was like, just keep going as hard as you can. Do your best. If that time comes, you'll be as ready, just try to be as ready as possible. And then subconsciously, I just kind of fell off there with that particular coach in that context. And that was only the first couple years of it. And I stuck with it, kept getting stronger. Ended up working with like a really high class, like bench pressing coach. Him and I became really good friends. He's pretty prominent on Instagram. And I got him into curling because I learned about it online. Like strict curling was this thing. And where you like lay against the wall and you curl as much weight as possible. Oh. It's like a powerlifting-esque thing, and it used to be part of powerlifting. And I thought my coach would be good at it. And not only was he like amazing at it, he ended up getting like a world record. We had to battle Russians. Is because it's like really big in Russia, but like obscure is like very obscure here. And so like we had these scumbag Russians, and there was a guy that was just right behind him but then acted like he was better. But the thing is my coach was massive, and you couldn't tell from these videos. My coach was like 350 pounds and very tall, like over 6 foot. And this guy was tiny doing this. So in reality, that guy was probably like pound for pound stronger than my coach. But we're after the number here. We're after how much weight is each person lifting, and my coach managed to stay above that guy in a legitimate way. And I don't know if they still, but it was some shady beef. And like we had like a legend came out of hiding and was like, I don't respect his record, his world record, and all this stuff. And then nobody really cares enough to look deep into it. So I have seen people be like, oh, Leroy Walker, the curl champion. And then now he does a lot of arm wrestling and stuff. I don't know if he ever did try to chase that dub again. And then it was also like we thought we were going to break the record like months from the time he did it. Like it was like, oh, it'll be ready in like half a year, whatever. And like he got like that like act of God strength in the moment and did it right in the competition. Like, whoa. Which is when it comes to the human body, having like a drastic just strength out of nowhere that wasn't calculated or planned for, it is the most miraculous thing.
Wow.
Just especially like on the bicep. The bicep's a very like much weaker muscle group than everywhere else. And so like weight is so incremental. Had a little bit of weight to anyway, I could go on all day, believe me.
Okay, what were some personal records
of mine?
Yeah.
I trained powerlifting a lot and competed very little. And I mostly competed in that curling stuff. So like I have like powerlifting medals, but they're like the medals themselves are from that.
Yeah.
And I never got to actually like perform my total, but I did build like a pretty good total where I was able to deadlift 500. I was able to bench 325 at the max, and these are not at the same times. And then I was able to squat like around like 450 pounds.
Oh my god!
And but the thing is like there's a lot of things to consider because they have like what's called the Wilks score, and then guys like my coach like hate that stuff. Big eye roll moment. You bring up the Wilks score, but it is like the relative calculation of your body weight versus the weight you're lifting. That's how you determine how strong you are. I never felt like I had a good enough Wilks score. I always felt like I was too heavy technically. Then they also consider your age, and that's something I never wrapped my head around. They'd be like, oh, for your age group, you're doing really well and all that. And I was just like, oh, I don't care. Like, it's the world record we're after. But then it's like, I guess that is, I don't know. I could have considered that more and been more driven to compete. That stuff. And it's also, each time I came up with those maximum numbers were their own periods of time. And so powerlifting is the art of doing all three of those at once. So like those guys have to train and be ready and be strong in those ways on the day of competition. And they have to do each lift 3 times, and progressively heavier, ending with the heaviest generally. And you come up with like a big score that way. And then so that's a whole training method, just getting ready for that. Yeah, that's powerlifting. It taught me a lot of work ethic. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Dealing with that. Today I was thinking about the connections for comedy, because you judge an athlete based on their abilities. And the same is true about a comedian, but then the politics kind of get involved. The politics get involved with athletes too, but
yeah,
I think comedy in a more direct way. But I don't know. That's a broad statement, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, you better watch yourself right now.
Yeah, you're gonna have athletes mad at you and me.
But I'll fight them. Mm-hmm. Dang, you got very passionate talking about all that. But that's cool. That's cool to see.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, because even though you are pretty young,
I did kind of walk away from all that stuff for the most part.
Seems like it.
But now I go back to the gym and they're all like, "You look great. You're doing better than we've ever seen you. You look amazing." Because since comedy, I think I got like a healthier headspace, first of all.
Yeah.
And then I think my avatar is slowly just changing into something healthier. I'm like over the years, and just, and then if I focus on it, I still go there, but I'm more cardio based, and I'm more like, or just like, I always joke that it's just bodybuilding now, guys. Just so I just go and I just worry about lifting or assisting my friend. I'm not like a coach to my friends, but like I am very helpful and knowledgeable when it comes to lifting. So
yeah,
they enjoy lifting with me and stuff. I have stuff like that.
Like, have you lost weight?
I've lost a lot of weight since I've been prominent in that gym. Yeah, I guess it's powerlifting and stuff. Because like during the pandemic, I gained a lot of weight, like a lot. I gained like 80 pounds. I think a lot of people did.
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, like it was a lot. Wait, let me see.
And you're like 5'2", so 80 pounds for someone.
5'2". I'm like 4'9". So I was like 240 pounds when the pandemic started, which is about where I'm at now. I think I was probably a better looking 240 but I was working in a kitchen. It was a hot kitchen, and I went from a hot kitchen to a cold bedroom. And I started getting like sciatica nerve pinches and stuff really bad.
Whoa.
Mostly from my piriformis muscle, which is a muscle located near the glute, kind of on the side.
The booty.
The booty on the side. And that'll choke your sciatic nerve and cause a lot of pain. And it took me forever to figure out what it was. And I went like 8 months of not being able to like walk and move properly. And like having like sharp pain. And I had a history of like once in a while, for as long as like a month or two, I would get like really bad sciatica, sharp pain where I'd have to limp a lot. And now I know exactly what it is, and it never lasts long. I can pretty much stay on top of it. But yeah, during the pandemic, it was really bad. And I didn't know what to do. And so I just bench pressed. I just only bench pressed, and that's when I got my bench really high. But I almost weighed as much as my bench press, so it also, that's like the classic, rest of the story. But that happens with a lot of people. But I would eat very unhealthy and bench press, and then there's like you can gain weight by lifting weights. It'll build so much body mass, especially if you're eating improperly.
Wow.
And muscle and fat. Like you will get, I mean, the fat's not, I don't know. It's debatable, but yeah, you can put on a lot of size. So I got pretty big, and I think I drank like a bunch of water one day, and like all of a sudden my pain was like nearly vanished, and it had been so long I felt like atrophied almost on like one side. And eventually, a physical therapist pointed out what it probably was. I think he ended up being right. Then I was able to research that, and then I was able to basically overcome that.
Okay.
But I gained a lot of weight during the pandemic from like not being able to like move my hip properly, having pain in my hip. It's like a sharp pain. And I had like a sciatic attack at some point during like my first year out here. And there's pictures of me, and that was before I started shaving my head too. Of me like with a cane. Like I walked around with a cane for like 3 months max, and maybe not even 3 months. That sounds like a lot. And like I would have like a weightlifting belt, and then it looked like I just got injured. It looked like I got hit by a car or something, and I felt injured. But I have not had one that bad since then. That was like the last time. And then sometimes I'll get like a day where it kind of sucks, but I will stop what I'm doing and stretch and stuff. And now I've lost enough weight. I used to say weight loss, hydration. I forgot the other thing, and stretching. If I maintain those things, then like, you know, if I start having like an attack, one of those three things is not working. I think I lost enough weight to where like it's not as like I don't have to like stretch all the time, you know, for it. Even though I probably should, things would be better. It might prevent things. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's probably hard for you to touch your toes.
Yeah, I'm flexible. Okay, I'm a very flexible. I am famous for how flexible I am at my size. I'm not gonna prove it right now because we're on a podcast, and that might not be the most flattering angle. But take my word for it, please.
I'll take your word, but it's not easy. Yeah, no, and I think some comics they should go to the gym more because it's a good stress relief and it helps with that.
I want to eventually influence people to try it and do things.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you're a big fat guy, nobody believes you. You know?
Well, yeah, and there's a bunch of skinny comics, and everyone's like, "Oh, they're skinny, they're fine." And I'm like, they've got mental issues and stuff, and I think they need Jesus, but some workout could help as well. Because yeah, whenever I'm like, I look like an old lady, and all these people walk by and they see me, and I'm running on the treadmill, but like I'm getting a lot of stress out, and it really
that's
helps
doing a
me.
lot physically for you.
It's helping me so much.
You're improving everything.
Yes,
your mind and body from cardio.
And then I also, you know, I go to a punching bag and I have a picture of you.
Really?
And I'm just like, no, I'm joking.
You actually hit the punching bag?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can't bring myself to this. I think that is so embarrassing to just be like.
Well, especially without, you know, having any guidance. Not knowing what you're doing. I was going to say, I have to see that.
One time I should do it and have someone video me. It would be so pathetic. Because I am very weak. Like, yeah, it was always...
It's all technique. It's all technique.
You know, I bet you're right. Yeah, you would actually know. It was just like whenever I played soccer, we'd go to the weight room and I would be one of the weakest. I would be in the weak group because I just really didn't... At one time I was doing squats and I fell. And it was really scary.
And my lifting experience in school was never like proper.
Yeah.
So like I remember in high school we had kind of good stuff, but the coach had really weird, and he wasn't even that like obscure of a coach or anything. He seemed like a normal guy, but he was so vague about everything and with improper form, and also like had like I guess a CrossFit mindset.
Oh
so
my
like
gosh.
I don't know. He was just happy to get it. He just wanted to see us moving, I think, more than anything. And he wasn't a bad guy, but he would teach us the weirdest things. And when I learned about stuff, I was like, why did he... Like, I kind of figure out, like, his thought process as I learned things, but...
No, like, okay, yeah, I did...
It made me assume that, like, all school never really... Like, school, you never know what they're telling you to do, you know? And then coordination and familiarizing yourself with those movements, things like that are big. And if you have somebody, like... If you're determined to do it, you'll figure it out, you know?
Well, I never got injured until I had a CrossFit coach. And then we started doing the stuff that she was saying. And that's whenever I actually got injured. Like, seriously, I never got injured before that.
And I don't want to completely, like, shit on CrossFit, even though, like, every other lifter does. Like, my cousin was big on CrossFit. He's a big CrossFit guy. And he used to scare my sister and I from working out. It used to, like...
Whoa!
I thought lifting was like that always. And it was just like, you know, getting to the point of like lightheaded and vomiting every time was like the goal.
Oh my god.
And I also couldn't like articulate that something was hurting my ankle or, you know, different things like that. And I was a kid, you know. So I was a dumb kid. I was like, actually, I mean, I could, but it's like, oh, your ankle hurts or you need to stop right now. There's, you know, it's like, there's a difference.
Yeah.
There's a difference, and then it's like, well, no, keep going. They try to motivate you, and then it's like, and then you're not speaking up for yourself enough, and then next thing you know, I don't know, but yeah, no. So you got injured from doing CrossFit stuff. What kind of injuries did you have?
Well, no, like I've never broken a bone, but it was like she had us do the burpee.
Yeah. It's like push
Yeah,
up, just standing,
yes.
jumping.
And by the way, I never did it correctly.
I know every exercise, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I know everything.
Literally every exercise in the
I don't
world.
practice what I preach, but I preach.
I'd be preaching good. Yeah, imagine a burpee with like the push-up being pretty pathetic. Imagine that. And she made us do so many. And it was just like, it was getting more and more painful. So I wasn't using proper form. And so then it was really killing my hamstrings to the point where I was like, okay, it's like really hurting. And she's like, keep on going. Keep on going. And
like, I know it is, yeah.
Like, yeah, she's like, she just has that CrossFit mindset. So yeah, I'm super not into that. Mm. And most people I know in CrossFit, they get injured. And also, it's like a cult. I am not into it. Like, if that works for you, okay, just
showing up and having a common goal, and then also like you're improving your life. And you will get very cliquey in every kind of thing like that. And CrossFit is famous for having its own outgoing thing.
Yeah. And
I think their demographic is invites a lot of former athletes and things like that. So CrossFit's a big community.
Yeah.
But the biggest, I don't know. And but like powerlifters and bodybuilders are very of themselves as well.
Well, okay. Tell me this. I gotta ask you this. Okay, so yeah, in comedy,
it's camaraderie.
Man. Well, yeah, in comedy we do a lot of things solo.
Comedy camaraderie.
And like CrossFit, it's very much a group thing. And I've even talked about with my friends.
It's still solo. It's still solo because it is just you. It's you versus the world in both. Because you're
saying with CrossFit.
I mean, yes, you're all together there, but if you like compete in CrossFit, they're looking at you as an individual and what you're capable of. Same with powerlifting; it's a solo sport.
I really like working out on my own. I don't like working out with other people, and I wondered if there was a correlation of that with comedy. You know, like I've never liked group classes for workouts. I never liked that kind of stuff. I've always liked doing it on my
own. I do try to maintain an independence. Maybe not always, but
yeah.
If I come out into town and I don't have any of my friends around, that should not stop me from trying and going out.
Yeah.
I'll end up finding somebody or making a friend if I have to usually, but if there's a weirdo always, and you can promote the weirdo for the day, let him be your friend for the day,
and
that's talk, true. You know. And so I do try to be a lone wolf. I try to maintain that, or like sometimes like there's none of my friends around, or like sometimes you get left, or you're with a group, and then you're kind of like not necessarily dished, but you'll find yourself alone all of a sudden because conflicting whatever, or like just landed that way. And then it's like, okay, do I go home? No. Do I keep going? Yes. So, okay, find the next mic, do that. And I've had people who've seen me do that, and like especially because there's some people who are only lone wolf, and then there's some people who are creepy about it, where it's like I'm gonna be antisocial, and then also if you find, and then those people do it too, but like if you find yourself like mad or angry or having a bad attitude, I think it's time to go home, you know, or just because it's like you're approaching this properly if you're sitting there like furious in the back, or you're by yourself and you're just angry or something like that. But anyway, there are guys who are big on doing that, and I've seen them kind of break out of that, but you always have to have yourself in your own individual path to fall back on, and that's true. And I hardly find myself, honestly, especially as of lately, like not having anybody whenever I come out here, but it does happen. It happens at a moment's notice.
True.
Where it's like, oh, like first half of this day or first half of this comedy pursuit of the day, I had people around, and then now they're gone for whatever reason. Or first half I was alone, and then all my friends showed up halfway or 3/4 of the way through. And you know, it's just, I've seen it all.
Yeah.
Seen it all. But you got to be used to being solo dolo.
Yeah.
And it's probably true in every field, right? Like you got to have a strong independent approach.
Yeah.
To fall back on, I guess. Or not even fall back on, just to maintain.
Well, yeah, no, even with this podcast, there had been a point where this
is all you by yourself, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I've done it by myself. And so my dad, there was a point where he was doing it with me for a while, but then I was just like, no, I need to just really do it on my own.
But then like production wise though, that's still all you.
Oh yeah, it's all me. So yeah. But it's just, then I'm my own boss, and yeah, even like here, I live on my own. I like a lot of things solo. But you're so right. Like at the comedy, the open mics and stuff, it's very fun having friends to talk to and stuff like that.
You may not ever find yourself solo, and you may not
Yeah.
know what to do with yourself if you are solo. And then I'm
Yeah.
sure some people want to sulk or get sad or something, but I don't think about that. I just, keep, I don't know. I mean, like, no, it's not always, but like sometimes you get ditched, it just happens.
It's
part
true.
of life.
It's true. No, that's a good point.
But, or
Yeah.
just stuff happens, I can think
Yeah.
of so many that it's not even worth getting into, but scenarios.
Well, no, even the short time I've been here, there's even been a little bit of an ebb and flow in who I've, been talking to and stuff like that. So
you also want to establish yourself independently too. You don't want to be like, oh, I'm part of this gang.
Yep.
Or I'm part of this gang. Because there are these gangs or whatever. There's lots of cliques. There's lots of, we're very CrossFit-y out here, And you got to go to different gyms, you got to go around. You got to just, I try to be cool with a lot of people, do a lot of things, try to keep it moving. And then sometimes a weirdo will ruin it when you're trying to hang out with with people sometimes, but.
Oh, it's so annoying. Yeah.
Happened today.
Yeah, well, you can say my name, by the way, so.
Yeah, Sarah showed up, and we were like...
It was you and Joe Rogan.
She needs to be hospitalized.
And I was like, Joe Rogan, hey!
She shouldn't be allowed on the street like this.
Okay, so I did recently watch both your Kill Tony appearances.
Yeah.
They were very interesting, and the first one didn't even seem like you.
Yeah, interesting. What do you mean?
You seem... Well, I feel like we could speak...
Some guy told me recently, he was like, you've changed so much since those Kill Tonys. You used to be this, like, more happy, outgoing guy. Like, he was talking out of his halfway, but... Oh, sorry. Sorry to cuss.
Yeah, you've been cussing a lot, by the way. So.
Really? Have I? Oh, man.
A few times. It's not that bad.
Will you censor it? We promise you'll censor it
I'll try, yeah.
Okay.
I usually just try to mute it.
Yeah, I had a guy that was just kind of half lying. I'm just kidding. Or just whatever. He didn't know what he was talking about all the way, but he was trying to just make a talking point to me, and he was just like, I used to notice you acted so differently, and now you're like pissed off and serious all the time. And I don't know if that's a bad word or not. But I was like, I still do the same stuff. Like, I'm still the same. You obviously don't know me that well. I'm obviously like, I'm the best I've ever been. Like, as time goes on, like, I'm constantly improving. So.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, like, yeah. So the first one, and you gave me the backstory on your first appearance and stuff. But I was like watching it, and I was like, I wouldn't like to hang out with that Daniel. I honestly thought that. And then the second one, I was like, this is more the Daniel I like. Well, because you were interrupting.
I wasn't different. I wasn't any different.
Really?
As a person. I was just in a weird mood and misunderstood the situation.
Okay. Because
thought it was something it wasn't. Straight up. Thought I was walking in like a banana phone setting, and I thought I had act a fool.
Cussed
oh,
again.
Sorry.
You cussed again.
Wow.
And so I'm about to fight you. It was so funny whenever you like kind of made fun of Trevor Wallace, and he's like, I just sold out like a whole thing.
That was unintentional. I did not mean to call him. I didn't mean that when I said the TikTok guy too. I was like,
it was so funny. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it didn't feel like you.
Well, I mean, I guess you know me currently or whatever, but people like to see those and say, like, this is very concentrated, like, mistakes that you made that represent yourself. Like, there's unaware Daniel and the trouble he gets in on that first one. And then the second one, both times there's classic, shut up, Daniel, just stuff. And people like that, I guess. And people love to watch that. I get such mixed reviews on this stuff. It is crazy, but yeah, I wish everything happens for a reason, right? I don't know. Hopefully.
What are your thoughts?
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming.
Is it really? Okay.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
I flip flop too. I fluctuate. Once in a while, I'll let it get to me.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, but like I never let it like really get me that bad. And then in the moment, I was cool.
Yeah.
After that first one, and I get kicked off stage, I was like, wow. I say that I've been doing comedy longer than I have because I had started in 2019, had like a very flip-floppy, wasn't very consistent, and then like during the pandemic did not do comedy. So like age 20, basically, I did not do comedy. And then 2021, when everything started back up, took it seriously. I was about 2 years at that point.
Wow.
And I just said 4, you know, and like that was not, and then that makes them really, really not like you. Also, I look old AF, and sorry, I don't know if that's close enough to swearing. I look old, and so they probably thought I was a lot older than I was too. They thought I was some like 30-year-old guy going out there acting like a dumb, acting dumb. And let me see. I acted cool as a cucumber in both moments. After I got off stage the first time, I was like, if I was any newer in comedy, that would have messed me up pretty bad. And then I wasn't probably entirely, I don't know. I was worried about it, but then after the second one, oh man, I was cool. But there were times like after that where I was just like so worried about everything involving that.
Well, and it's like
perception, and
it's so funny too, because it's like I've seen you do comedy so many times, and it's like you didn't get a ton of laughs whenever you were on Kill Tony, but I see you kill in open mics where like nobody was getting laughs, me included. I go up there, I get 0 laughs. You go up there, you get tons of laughs.
The minutes weren't really the problem, in my opinion,
Yeah.
on the Kill Tonys either. Were they the best minutes ever? No, but they weren't. I think it was just like the interviews both times were just like. Well, then also like my second time, I was supposed to have like 5 jokes, and like my second or third didn't land, and then I forgot the last one.
Okay.
And then I addressed it right away, and it was about 45 seconds in. And then that just kind of started the wheel. And then, and then Ric Flair, thank God he was there. Thank God he was there.
Yeah,
thank God.
That I was watching that episode too, and I was just like, I would have hated to be on that episode with how many how many cooks were in the kitchen.
It's also like, I admired every individual on that stage.
Oh, for sure.
Like individually at one point, like every individual on that stage. And it was like my childhood hero came and like, you know, and I knew I liked and admired Ric Flair. I'll be honest, I wasn't like, when I watched wrestling as a kid, he was an old school guy, but like we always knew all about him, saw plenty of footage of him. I knew very well who he was. Like couldn't believe it was him. And he just came to my defense in this fairy tale manner. It was insane. And I think I would have been in a worse boat if he hadn't done it that way, you know.
Mm-hmm,
and enough time has passed to where it's, how much does that matter? And then how much that matters is kind of up to me and what I choose to do about it.
It
so
doesn't like, okay, so I've met you, I know you, I've seen you do comedy now. That's all I can speak for. I see these past things, and for sure, was it the most successful appearance? I don't think so, but I see you now, and I like who you are, and you're one of my closest friends here.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it matters.
I was very misrepresented. I felt very misrepresented, but that's my fault. On that account, that is my fault. But it also just like lit the biggest fire I ever could have imagined, especially after the second time, like motivation wise. Like,
okay, hey, cool.
Oh no, like I'm not even exaggerating. Like, I got really cutthroat after that. Very, very just out here all the time, very prominent. And that guy was right. I maybe am more militant in my attitude about comedy now, but I just scrambled to get like the best 5 minutes I've ever had right after that. And then that just kept growing and growing. And yeah, just hoping I get another chance just to leave on a decent note. That's all I want.
Yeah. Well, okay, then in my opinion, that's a win.
Now I feel stuck.
Why do you feel stuck?
Like I don't have a choice almost. But I do. It's not entirely honest, but I do feel like I'm in this system. But then I really miss it when I'm not there and stuff too. Like that's also true. Like I do appreciate what's going on, and if Kill Tony wasn't there, the city wouldn't be what it is, and it does justice for certain people, and you know it's not always like that for everyone. It's I see it. I see all sides.
Well, and also I don't know.
I've also seen people do worse and got treated worse than me, and that really makes me. I probably didn't have as strong as of opinions about that until seeing other people get mistreated. No, it's not so much Kill Tony, like the Reddit and stuff like that is where the mistreatment really comes in.
Yeah.
And that's always been a thing. I watched an old Kill Tony today where he was like, "You're one of those Reddit cowards," like he was telling somebody. And it's like, okay, well that's not the show. The way the fans act online and misbehave, that's really not the show. But I do think, I got on Tony's bad side and he tried to punish me for it, essentially. And I would just hope I can reverse that or put a good taste in his mouth at the very least, at least for now. It's getting to be over a year since that last appearance.
Since the last one. Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think anything can be turned around. I just, yeah.
And hopefully I'm ready whenever it comes out, if I do get picked again. And I'm really cool with just about everybody in the scene. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying I do wonder how much it really matters anymore.
Yeah, I do too. It's definitely not something to get caught up in because you can.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I've sensed it for myself. Yeah. And then it's like, I do wonder how much, I don't know what the future holds. I think, for us to just pretend that Kill Tony's always going to be in Austin, Texas. It will always be right there. I think that's a little naive too. We don't know. It's such a big show.
We have no idea what the future
And so,
looks
in
like.
my opinion, seize on it while it's here, while it's local. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and hopefully I get on before then, before they...
I really think so. I really think so. Yeah.
I don't know. I am pretty passionate about wanting to get on again, but I don't generally dwell on that though, I try to just be as strong as I can outside of that, build myself up. Also having like a content base and established Instagram and stuff. And my Instagram has doubled since my second appearance. I don't know how much effect that had directly because I didn't have an immediate boost or anything. One thing is they tend to misspell my name. My last name is Sheppard, and they spell it biblically, and mine's slightly different.
Okay.
And then I've had very little harassment online. Maybe less than 10 interactions online. And some of those were really fake accounts that might have been closer to me than I would like to admit. But
it was me.
For a long time, I only had one or two people. It was a guy who DM'd me accusing me of doing it on purpose. He's like, you just want to sabotage the show because he's like, you like being, you like the negative attention and all this stuff. And giving me a lot more credit than I deserved. And so I was like, it kind of came off as a compliment unintentionally more than the guy would have meant. And then I said, thank you for your feedback. I remember it was a pretty mean message. I censored myself there a little and never responded. A guy commented on my YouTube video of me in 2019 at Cap City and said 4 years later, this guy still sucks. And I deleted that comment. But then nobody messed with the other stuff I had on there. I had some other stuff. But yeah. And then since then I've maybe had recently for a long time that was it. And then recently some guy I made a post of the Chris Kuhn short film thing. Some guy just started attacking the video. And then whenever I said something, then he started attacking me or somebody on there. I assume it's a guy. And then we couldn't delete it off Instagram. Instagram wouldn't let us.
Weird.
Yeah, and then I reported it, and then it kept coming back as not harassment, even though it was clearly intentional harassment. And then, yeah, but I don't know, not much. Honestly, the internet's been pretty chill about it. I didn't really go surfing on Reddit because I listened to Joe Rogan. I listened to Daddy Joe. And he always warns not to go looking for comments and things like that, getting lost in that. And I'm glad I did because I skipped probably some pain that way. And as the first time I was just not looking at the Reddit, not doing it. But then people were coming up to me and showing me things.
Oh, no.
5 times people came up to me, maybe more, came up to me and were showing me stuff. And then like one of them was a conspiracy. Like there was kind of a bit of stuff, and now it's really hard for me to find. It might still be there, but I was told you have to search by the date.
Okay.
So I try to look my name up. I'm really not finding stuff. But and then the second time I knew less about what they were doing and saying about me on there. But I knew they didn't look. I had a bunch of TikToks. I was in the background of a lot of TikToks. I was viral on TikTok around the time that episode came out for like maybe 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then people were recognizing me from being in the background because it was mostly Ric Flair clips. And then one guy, and then the YouTube comments, I watched the live comments on my first one. They were decent. Like kind of being like understanding of the actual situation. And the second time I did not watch it live. Skimmed the comments, didn't really see much of myself in the comments. And then they finally, one of those accounts, I think it was Life of Logos, I could be wrong. I don't know if the video is still up there. They posted a video of me and said, this guy should call it quits. And put a clip of it out there, which is like that act in itself, I consider to be one of the 10 times I've been harassed online. It was like a guy, like that stupid account post that. And then I look on the comments and everyone was like, why would you even make this video? Like people were like actually pretty nice about it. And then saying like all the rights, all the stuff, even like thoughts I have in the back of my mind, people were people were saying, I have a problem with swearing. I'm sorry.
I'm going to kill you.
It just happens. I'm trying to work on myself, but just in general. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's super
Kill
interesting.
Tony. I could go on. Another thing I could go on all day about, and I have.
Yeah. No, I know what you like to talk about. Oh yeah. No. Okay. So then the other funny thing was, you went to my church.
Oh yeah.
And the way you were describing going, and it's not a church.
And I wanted to go so bad
this
again.
Sunday.
Yeah. And then I even woke up early and stuff. I woke up like perfectly in time to it.
Oh wow.
And then it didn't get to be to like 1 o'clock. I'm like, what should I wear? And then I was like, wait, no, it is Sunday right now. And then just the routine is not set in for myself yet.
Yeah.
It is still,
yeah. You've only done it once.
Still new to me to start going again because I hadn't been going on a weekly basis in many years. Not like too many. I don't know. It's been quite a few years. And so, I was disappointed about that yesterday because I really wanted to see that Christian rock, see the Pope drummer.
Yeah, and then, okay, so at my church, you go to the front. There's like a free space, and you go to the front to worship. If you want, you can stay in your seat if you don't want to. And you called it the mosh pit.
The Christian mosh.
It's so
They do
funny.
a Christian mosh at Bethel, at the church.
Yeah,
it was great. It was a new experience. And then there's certain details, like when you go to different churches, there's certain details that other places want to embrace. And like one of the things I was saying was they're big on healing there. And that's not a foreign concept to me or anything like that.
Yeah.
But they were very open about like active healing. There's plenty of healing that can happen all the time for everybody if we believe and we, I like that message. But it was, I just didn't even know people addressed it that much.
Yeah.
Just simply. And I don't want to criticize the church too much because I really enjoyed myself there, and it was very pleasant, just given the circumstances and stuff. But yeah, it was nice to check out, and I do plan on going back and learning more about it and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's super different.
It was a vibe. It was a lot of fun, and it went on for a long time.
Long services
seemed to not end. And not in a bad way. But then I did see people that kind of seemed like it was part of their routine where it's like they tap out at an hour and a half or like they give what time they can.
Yeah.
It seems like the first hour is probably the most get all the important information out of the way, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's kind of like extra credit. I don't know. But then like, there is like by the time the Christian mosh really popped off, that was like a solid 2 hours in. And that was an experience. That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I was filled with joy that whole time. I was laughing a lot, trying to contain myself. I was emotional, I guess, kind of just in general, but yeah, it was just all different types of people too. A lot of different families. I remember I saw I saw an Indian guy with a white wife. It was like or a
What?
Middle Eastern guy with a white wife, and I was just so curious. I wanted to ask him about it, and I bet he would have told me.
Yeah.
But it was just like, oh, and y'all are a Christian here, and I was like, I was like, how does that happen? You don't see a lot of like people who are ethnic groups that are associated with Islam. You don't typically see them in Christian environments as often as others.
No, you're right. It is a bit of a rarity. Shabba ding dong, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, fellows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I think it'll be fun whenever I finally go with you, and then we'll just be able to experience.
You can't stay
together.
with me. You can't.
No,
stay
yeah.
with me
We're gonna be opposite sides of the room. Be like,
yeah. Well, we'll touch base after.
Yeah, be like, hi.
Yeah. I don't know her.
Yeah.
Totally.
I pour oil all over you.
It was my decision to be here. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know her. I don't like her. She's weird.
And then I'm going to preach a sermon. I'm going to be like, don't be like Daniel. That'll literally be the title of my sermon.
It's like, we have an unholy man here tonight.
He does comedy?
He does comedy. Look at his wrist.
It's actually been very cool how open and receptive people have been to that. And like, they know I'm not in the Christian atmosphere with the comedy, but like, they're not like harsh or judgmental on it. And I kind of thought they would be.
I will say, when growing up, it seemed like everybody was Christian, and now I'm in a world where it's like few and far between, from my perspective. Like I don't see it a lot. In middle school, I sensed a big atheist trend, and I don't know exactly where that went. I still see remnants of that time. I don't know. And then there's lots of guys like Joe Rogan who like everybody likes, but it's not clear what they believe. And then when they explain it, it's more of a like something they don't take that seriously. Like it's more of like a figure it out on your own mixture of philosophy and religion and spiritualism and stuff.
Yeah.
Heathenistic garbage.
Yes.
But yeah. Neutrality leaves you susceptible to evil.
Preach it. No, yeah, in like I'm open to spiritual mindsets. I'm open, like that's kind of what I feel like there's a lot of in our
Where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
Where do you draw the line?
Oh, where do I?
Yeah.
As far as what, like talking to these people?
Like, are you cool with like yoga classes and crystals?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, no, I wouldn't do yoga.
You wouldn't do yoga? Is that my mom one time said yoga was bad. I think she retracted that statement, but she was like, there's too much conflicting with our religion.
I wouldn't say that like the actual stretches and those kind of things are wrong.
It is very guided in some more than others. So you'll go to a bunch of different yoga classes, and some of them are more on the mystique, almost like religious and weird about it. And then sometimes it's a spectrum, and then sometimes it's all like physical based, but they may touch on it a little or just have a way to articulate it without getting too boundary crossy. Yeah. And then somebody will hit you out of nowhere with like the female goddess is now, just is here with us right now, and then just
Yeah, like the stretches are fine. Like I'm not saying that, but yeah, I told
it
you
is
already,
amazing for the body though. Like yoga will fix injuries, but
no, that's cool. Yeah, but also I don't like group stuff, so yeah, kind of just is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It's a learning. That stuff's a learning curve. I didn't always like stuff like that, but I do try to make myself go out of my comfort zone, and things like yoga classes, not fun at first, but you do stop thinking about it after a while. You get used to it. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, Christian yoga or something, that'd be interesting.
That would be a good idea.
Holy Daddy God.
I'll talk to some people I know.
Yeah. You lead it.
Well, I'm not qualified in the yoga sense.
Literally just put a turban on.
I'll make sure no malarkey happens.
Holy Spirit, Daddy God, just downward dog.
Downward dog. Does not sound very holy to me.
Downward, yeah, and actually in the Bible they don't speak very positively of dogs. Like
really?
Dog. Like what we have done, elevating pets over babies and stuff. Like that's like totally backwards.
I will admit I need to sit down and read the scripture. Both my parents were big on me reading the Torah.
Really?
They thought they just, my dad especially was big on that being like the true Old Testament.
Wow.
Like where, I don't know, he thought that there was just, and from what I understand, I've started a little bit. From what I understand, there's just and there's like an Old Testament Torah thing specifically that I'm like looking at. It's just there's stuff that's not in most Old Testaments that was lost in the Torah translations, different things. So, and then the way, I don't know, it actually seems entirely legit, where it's like, it's actually a very, I think it's a good way to go about reading the Old Testament for the first time. But, yeah, that's my goal. I have these audiobooks of the what is it, Judeo-Christian Torah.
See, that's so interesting. In my mind, the best way to get closer to God whenever you have no familiarity at all whatsoever is actually to start with the New Testament, not the Old.
Oh, yeah.
The Old Testament can actually bog down a lot of people and make them lose interest in the Bible altogether.
And I think I've heard every Bible story. Like, I'm almost familiar with both. I do, actually, no, that's not true. I constantly learn new things about it. So that's one reason why I need to take the time for myself. So I'm always amazed at how much the scripture covers. It's like, wow, they figured out everything. Not only that, I'm learning about things. But, yeah, my mom recently was big on, like, check that out. But, yeah, interesting. The New Testament, starting with that. That's also not a bad idea.
Specifically the book of John.
I read a lot of children's Bibles.
Things okay, like well, that's that growing up. Yeah, no, that's a good gateway drug.
Yeah, good gateway drug.
Yeah. But no, so, the book of John is the best way to start.
Remember we got our adventure Bibles? Did you ever see those?
Yes. Yeah, I had a couple.
I think I basically read that.
Yeah.
Basically read that. But from what I understand, those are a little watered down, right? Those are a bit...
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, right?
They're missing a couple
I used to have some that were way, way watered down. And that one I read over and over again. My sister and I loved that one. It was called Mr. Henry's Bible Stories. And it was this old man, and he would narrate. And he had like a Bible that was with it. And it was like all cartooned up. And then very, very like G-rated version. And there was an audiobook. One part would scare me when I was a little kid is when they talk about the there's like the part with snakes where there's like an overwhelming amount of snakes. I forgot the specific context there. And
maybe Moses?
I think so.
The plagues.
Yeah, and I remember at one point like that he would still try to like be funny about it, but as a kid that was still disturbing, like the way he was describing it. But then like not even that bad. I just remember like being in bed in the dark at nighttime, like that part of the story was unsettling, but I would still, Mr. Henry's Bible. I'm an expert on that thing, okay?
Yes.
And then I didn't know he was one time I was at my mom's friend's house, big member of her church, a prominent member of her church. And she had a lot of Christian channels on her TV. Huh. And then she put on Mr. Henry. I didn't even know he had a TV show. I read his book. I remember being like, that's Mr. Henry? And then, he had a whole, like, Christian Bill Nye kind of thing.
Was he hot?
That wasn't my immediate thought, but looking back, I would love to be like Mr. Henry at that age, I would certainly.
Mr. Henry!
I would be proud to look like Mr. Henry at whatever age he was, but he was very white-haired. He had famous white hair and beard.
Okay. No, I really don't know much.
I've been told to dye my beard white or like platinum. I know that sounds weird, but there's a jiu-jitsu guy named Gordon Ryan, and he does it.
I've seen him. Yeah.
Yeah, and...
Well, do it. Like, what's the harm?
And
then if you don't like it,
my beard goes fast. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're off topic. Anyway.
Yeah. But no, yeah. Well, yeah, I think we could probably end it at this point, too.
Yeah, how long has it been?
I don't even know, but I've loved talking.
It's been like 2 hours, I think.
Hey, it's been 3 or 4.
Okay.
At a minimum.
I believe you.
So this is part 1.
This is part 1 of a 10-part series where we cover everything in life.
Everything, especially Daniel's life. But no, I appreciate
I overpower conversations.
I was going to talk to you about that afterwards. Because you do it on Kill Tony too.
Yeah. Well, you're interviewing me right now, so don't get too angry. But you're here, you're asking me questions, and that's the time to do it. If arguably. But even like my friends who like talking to me, after the conversations, I was like, man, I should have shut up way more. I should have.
What is it in you? What is it in you?
Somebody caught me doing it one time on a podcast really bad. Like, I was being funny, but I kept talking over the guys and I kept talking too much. And he was like, my friend was like, it's like you're panicking or something, that you're going to forget what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Or something. And that flies in conversation, but when it's being recorded, it can be a problem. It's not as fun to listen to. But, yeah, I lose myself in conversation. And I'll get too self-centered, maybe. I don't know. That might be a harsh way to look at it, but I'll accidentally just get distracted or something, or just lose sight of the situation at hand, and then I'll just overpower a conversation. Then I remember, I'll stop because I have skills at this point, because I've done this for so long, where I'll stop and ask questions, and then I forget again, and the next thing you know, you get me on a tangent, and I just won't stop. But yeah.
But no,
it's my interview. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah. No, that's been one thing that I've noticed about you, that I was like, it would be best if you modified it, for sure.
Yeah.
But like the fact that I
am aware of it, but I'm also unaware of it.
Yep.
I'm aware that I'm unaware of these things.
Yeah.
I don't always catch myself doing it in the right time, in the right moment.
Yeah. Well, you caught yourself during. I caught
myself at the end here just now, but like I said, hopefully it's okay because you're asking me questions. I'm not just some guy that wouldn't shut up for however many hours. Yeah.
No, I remember at BJ's with Anthony.
Oh, I didn't even think about it then. Dang, I must have been yapping.
He was like talking, and then you'd like.
Like my friends will jumpstart things like you have to say. And then also, that comes in handy when the gas runs out of the conversation. Like I am really good at that. Where it's like the awkward pause, and then it's like, are we autistic and just gonna stare at each other now? No, I refuse to be autistic. But that's probably more autistic what I do. But
no, I refuse.
I refuse something. We'll talk about something. But no, I get a passion. The passion, I don't know.
Yeah, no, the fact that you're aware is like seriously half the battle. So
half
the battle.
Only half though.
Nah. But either way, I love talking to you, and that's why you're one of
yeah.
my better friends here. And I think you're awesome, Daniel.
Likewise.
And this was a fire episode because I'm your fire host, and that's on Fire Had a Little Lamb. Am I right?
Nice.
All right,
Nice.
So guys, thank you so much for
I'm sorry for the swearing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm going to have to cut out a lot of that. But yeah.
Just cut it out entirely? Oh, man. You have a lot of editing to do.
Like a lot. Yeah, guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast, listening to the Sarah Sloan Show. I love you. You better love yourselves. Have a good night.